Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me for another Copic marker tutorial. Today I'm using this adorable stamp set by Newton's Nook Designs. The stamp set is called Newton's Perfect Wave. So we're going to be coloring this cute little kitty up here on the surfboard, and here is the card that I made using it. So I've stamped my image in a Memento Desert Sand so I can get that no line look to my coloring. And I've stamped it onto my Copic Express It blending card, which is my favorite paper to use when I'm coloring with my Copics. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to color on this little guy is the inside of the ears and the nose. So I'm going to start with my R32. Now there's not a whole lot of room for shading on the nose, so we're just going to go ahead and fill it in using the R32. And then on the bottom part of the ear, and then coming up a little bit on the side, on the top, we're going to just add a little bit of color there. Then we're going to take our R30 and finish filling in the inside of the ear. Now we're going to go ahead and get out the N3, and since our kitty is going to be gray, we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of shadows right to the shadowed areas. So we want to give a little bit of a shadow on the edge of his face, so that way it looks like it's continuing, that it's round. So start here at this point, and we're just going to kind of outline the outline of the stamp. Since this is the no line technique, we want to gradually start filling in around the image, the outline. We don't want to just trace it with the N3 because then you're not going to be able to tell where the shadows are. So we want to do that gradually with each new lighter color. So now I'm going to come down from this right around the outline of the center of the tummy and also underneath the face. And then on the inside of the body, right underneath the arm, and on the bottom of the arm. And then I'm just going to trace up in between the fingers. We're going to do the exact same thing on this side. So the bottom of the arm, trace a little bit the inside of the fingers, underneath the face, and then coming down the side of the belly. So for his feet, we're going to make a shadow right underneath his pants or shorts, and then coming up along the bottom of the feet. So the same thing over here, underneath his shorts, and then coming up the centers of the toes. I'm also actually going to take my N3 and add a little bit of a shadow right behind the ears, since that one line is right there, so we want to make it look like it's the ears coming out from behind it. So I'm going to take my N1. This is going to get much thicker. I'm going to start coming up the sides of the ears, start tracing the outline a little bit more. And then also I'm going to take my N1, since I want the tummy to be a little bit lighter, but the shadow's still going to be there from underneath the head. And then we're going to come up a little bit more where we added that N3. So it's just filling in a little bit more, like I said, with each new lighter color. We'll start coming down the side of the arm, but we're not going to continue it. Then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing down here. Notice I'm coming up a little bit more now. I finished continuing that line from here to here, so that way it gets a little bit lighter. Alright, so now we're going to take the N0 and we're going to get a nice blend right along the edge of that N1. And then once we have that nice blended out area, then we're going to go ahead and just do one swipe over the center and across the tops of the ears to fill in the rest of the cat's fur. Same thing right here. I'm going to get a nice blend right along the edge of that N1 and then continue just filling in the rest since this is our last color we're using. So now we're going to go ahead and take the N5 and we're just going to deepen those shadows a little bit more, and then we're going to repeat that whole N3, N1, N0. So I'm going to start back where I added the N3 the first time, but I'm not going to go as thick. So just a little bit flick going up that way and a little flick going that way. And then also going down the side of the tummy and underneath the face, bottom part of the arm. And then down here. And we'll go a little bit in between the little toes. So now let's take the N3 and just blend out that N5 a little bit. So I'm just coming out a little bit more, still keeping that same we don't want to go, what's the word I'm looking for? We don't want to continue outlining it in this. We still want to stay in the same areas where we stayed the very first time we added the N3. I am going to add a little bit more of a shadow underneath his face. So just a little bit so you can tell the difference between his head and his tummy. And then I'm going to come out a little bit more down here. And now with my N1, do a heavy flick to get more color out so we can really push out that N3 and that N5 and get it nice and blended out for us. And then again with our N0. Okay, so now our cat is fully colored. Now let's get out a multi-liner so we can put his eyes back on his face so we can see them, since we've used that Memento Desert Sand and we've colored over them and they're a lot lighter now. So I'm just going to trace over them. There we go. So now for his shorts, we're going to be using the B12 and B00. And then for the little fishies, we're just going to fill them in with the Y35. So let's go ahead and get out the B12. And right where the waistband wraps around, we're going to add a little bit of a shadow. So it's going to be dark right along the edge, and then on each side, top and bottom, we're just going to flick going out. We'll continue the little shadow going right underneath the belt. And then right here where his little knee is bent, and then also on the side of his cuff. Then let's take the B00 and we're just going to fill in everything except for the fishies. Oh, and we need to fill in the waistband. So then we're going to take Y35 and we're just going to fill in so we can have the little goldfish on his shorts. All right, so now since we have the Y35 out, this thick strip right in the center of the surfboard, we're gonna go ahead and do it yellow. So we're gonna give it just a little bit of a shadow. So I'm gonna come right along the edge and then also back here. And then we're gonna take our Y02 and get a nice blend right along that Y35. And then we're going to take Y11 and fill in the center. Now you might need to go back with your middle color, your Y02, because I could see separation right here, and I don't want to add too much because I want this to be yellow and not so much of an orangey color. So I'm going to go back and just touch it up a little bit with my Y02. So now let's go ahead and color the edge of each side of the surfboard. So I'm going to be using BG13 and BG11. I'm going to start with my BG13. And the same thing right at this little point. And then I'm going to trace going all the way, and I just noticed that I forgot to color his tail. So we have to go back and do that. Same thing over here. And then we're going to get out the BG11. And you're going to have to go over the BG13 a couple of times to really push that color and blend it out. But once you do, you're just going to go ahead and fill in the rest of the side of that board. So, and then with the BG11, I'm just going to do one swipe over so this stays lighter. Oh, and you know what? I forgot back here. Okay, so now let's go back with N3. And right at the base of his tail, and then where it's curling up. So this is going to be the shadowed area. And then we're going to take our N1. Fill it all in, and then we're going to go back with N5. Since it's kind of tucked back behind his body, we don't want it to have too much of a light, like the N0, so we want it to be a little bit more shadowed. And then let's go back with our N3. And then our N1. All right, so there you have it. We've colored our little surfing Newton using the no-line coloring technique and our Copic markers. I will list all of the products down below. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.